I know timing's impeccable. Hi, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to all my friends in the U.S. I hope you guys are having nice weather for your holiday. I know for folks in the U.S., the Thanksgiving is a huge holiday, probably the second largest right after Christmas. But I think Thanksgiving is perhaps one of the most important holidays in the U.S. So I hope everyone is having a safe and happy one. And for those of you that are joining us today, hello. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. Everything is looking up. I'm feeling much better. So is the rest of the house. Everybody is starting to sound less like seals and more like themselves. Thank heavens. There's been some sort of a bug that's been floating around this area for the last few weeks, and it seems that we all had it. So Renee is not 100% today. He's still feeling a little run down or run over. I'm not sure which. Run over is more accurate. So he's still feeling a little run over. I sound a little congested, but in general, I actually feel pretty good. So I am sounding much better and feeling even better than that. So I have been so looking forward today to paint this piece. I have an obsession with anything to do with country, farmhouse. I just love that whole vibe. And I like a more modern or contemporary twist on it. So I had a little bit of fun with these two projects. The one we're doing today is called Country Kitchen in Blue. And that means that we're referring to the background in this one. And this one involves some vintage style crockery, something for the kitchen. I like the old fashioned pitcher with the spout. I had one for many, many years and it got broken and I still miss it. It's one of those things. And of course, there's got to be a wooden spoon in it and then some bright, colorful little flowers. So this is a really fun home decor piece. You could paint it on virtually anything you like. So if you have a basket, a box, or a wood panel, or some fun kitchen shape that you like, the design can actually be reduced or enlarged to fit almost anything. It's a very simple design. The one we're doing next weekend is the same, Country Kitchen in red, but it involves an old-fashioned teacup. And again, those same bright flowers and lots of fun lettering. So I think they make a great pair. They look really great together. And again, they have that fun country flavor that I really, really like. So that's what we're doing today. Coming up really quickly is our 12 Days of Christmas live on December 7th. We are still shipping out on a regular basis. The mail has, obviously, we're having issues with Canada Post. So nothing is moving if it went letter mail. So there are going to be some significant delays. However, kits and wood surfaces, anything over a half pound, so anything other than just stencils or small items, are shipping in boxes. We are shipping through Purolator, through FedEx, and through UPS. And for some Canadian customers, we're shipping through ICS Courier. So things are moving a little quicker. However, there are some delays there as well, simply due to the volume that they are shipping because Canada Post isn't. So they're sort of picking up the slack for Canada Post. So we're seeing a slowdown there. We are packing and shipping daily. So we're trying to get things out as quickly as possible. If you haven't seen a tracking information yet, please bear with us. It's taking us some time to transcribe things from one platform to the other. So it is taking us a little bit of time. Generally, the shipping time from the time you get a shipping notification until delivery is anywhere from 7 to 10 days. It hasn't really been more than that. So just bear with us, and we do appreciate your patience, but we are trying to get everything out as quickly as we can, but there is a significant backlog because of the Canada Post strike. So we appreciate you, and thank you so much for understanding. Everybody has just been so kind, and we're really grateful for that. For today, we have some really fun giveaways. Tombow, as usual, has been crazy generous, so we've got some really nice Tombow goodies to give away today.
You have a birthday today.
Whose birthday is it today?
Shannon B. Riley.
Hi, Shannon. Oh my goodness. Shannon went to McDee's yesterday. I read that on her Facebook post. It was very funny. So happy birthday, Shannon. 62 today. Hello, Social Security. Well, that's great. I'm glad. I hope you have a really great day, Shannon. A little bit of luck, knock on wood. Should get her name on that wheel. It'd be nice for her to win something. So yeah, we have great little giveaways today from Tombow. I'm a huge fan. I love their pencils. Really love their double-ended markers, watercolors in a marker. Just love them. And a really exciting part is that we do have some sets of the double-ended watercolor markers to give away for the 12 days of Christmas. So that's really exciting.
Janet Brewer is also celebrating a birthday.
Oh my goodness, Jeanette Brewer. I think she's also celebrating some snowfall. Folks out west are getting snow today. We're getting nothing but rain. Oh, you're home with a bad cold? Oh, you poor deal. The wheel would be it would be very nice. So we'll make sure your name is on there. I did get some happy mail myself this week, so I wanted to share with you guys what I got. Tombow USA has this great new thing called VIP. And essentially what it is they'll offer any new product at an exceptionally good price. And I received this from, because I have registered as an affiliate with them. I got a wonderful little surprise this week. This is one of the VIP packages, and I just think this is so cool. I'm obsessed with colored pencils. These are the Irojiten colored pencils. There's a set of 18 colors in there in this little desk cup. Isn't that cute? It's so pretty. I have a full set of these pencils, by the way. I love them. And this little desk cup has a gorgeous selection of beautiful Tombow colored pencils. The quality is very, very nice, I must say. So there's this, and I love the packaging on this.
Mushrooms.
It's got mushrooms, it's garden on it. This one is called the Cottage Collection. Love this. And then also in the package was a Thoughts and Musings journal. Of course, it's in black and white. Of course, the light. There we go. It's in black and white on the outside, so you could color it, but it's also a journal for you to sketch and draw and design in. One of their new mono sand erasers was in there, as well as a box of these fabulous Tombow pencils. I love these HOP. These are the pencils that Tombow made originally, and you can see that it has that vintage packaging. Tombow makes just the best drawing materials. I'm thoroughly impressed with them, and I absolutely love them. I think you guys know that by now. I use everything Tombow. So if you're looking for a really great gift to give a fellow creative, go and check out Tombow USA. You're going to love this little set. Right now they have it on at a special price. So go and check it out on tombowusa.com, because check that out. Really cute. Really, really cute. The sets of the full set of these pencils are just beautiful. They come like books in a bookcase. And then each book opens up, and then you have a complete set, and they're broken up into series. They're beautiful. Tombow does such a beautiful job, not just with their product, but also with packaging. They do just so much thought and so much care is taken in all aspects of their product lines. So go and check that out. Check out that VIP package for this month, because they've got a really great deal on for that. Okay, I've covered giveaways, talked about Tombow. What else do I don't have them out, but we do have them. So we have Tombow drawing sets, really nice Tombow drawing sets. So we have 3 of those to give away today. All you have to do, get your name on the wheel, is just join in the conversation, say hi, join the ask a question. Just join us. Hit buttons, all the buttons, subscribe button, like button, whatever. Get your name on the wheel. At the end of today's broadcast, we will spin the wheel, and 3 of you will win one of those Tombow sets. Of course, we always include some other fun little items from Renee and I, as well as a 3-brush set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes. So there's a nice little set of those in there, courtesy of Dynasty Brush. So I think, Patrick, I hope you're feeling better. Patrick was actually ended up in the hospital this week. That's too bad. So hopefully he's feeling and doing much better. And Scott and Karen, hello from Utah. And Janet Cockrum. Cockrum? Hello from Houston. Bobby Corey from Chile, Georgia. Define chilly. It's Georgia. How cold could it be?
It's chilly to them.
Yeah, what is it today? I think it's like
I think it's below 0.
it's below 0 today. It's a little nippy, but it's raining, so it can't be that cold. I suppose it could if it's freezing rain.
Oh, sorry, it's 6.
It's 6 degrees today.
And raining.
And raining. Yeah. It's November.
No.
Or bumpers. All right. Gotta say hello to a few people this morning. To Mary. She's watching from Indiana today. She must be visiting friends and family in Indiana. And of course, my lovely Linda Safranco. Linda is my right arm. She keeps me on the straight and narrow. Thank goodness for that. And my girl, Karen Landry. Sheila Landry and Karen Jones, my 2 girls, honestly. And who else am I missing here? And there's Brenda Sawyer. Hello, Brenda. And Robin R. I've been thinking about you, Robin R. And Linnell. Hello, sweetie.
Don't forget Robin Storm.
Sheila, we're like sisters. Yeah, and then there's Robin Storm. Hello, sweetheart. Oh, my goodness. Hi, Wanda.
And Jessica.
And Jessica Killeran. Good heavens, everybody's here.
Jessica's probably going to be busy getting Thanksgiving together.
I have no doubt that they're all busy getting Thanksgiving together. And Lucy, it was 38, but the wind chill was 24, I think, in Georgia this morning. But cold for us. I have an electric heater plugged in. I'm hibernating effective immediately. Oh my goodness. Ann McIntyre. She's been on antibiotics all week. Sore throat is my issue, and I hope you feel better soon. I know all about that sore throat. I had that last week. It was nasty. And then our lovely Nancy Ficardi. Hello, sweetheart. Miss Nancy I've been getting the greatest little posts from people who received RAKs while they were at NET. Our Miss Nancy Ficardi was a very busy lady prior to NET. And so she put a lot of smiles on a lot of faces this week. So Nancy, mwah, love you, sweetheart. And Diane Blais, hello. Everybody's having a good weekend so far. What's for supper tonight? I'm not absolutely sure. I haven't planned that far ahead yet. Usually I do, but I didn't this time around. I think actually we're going to clean up some leftovers this week. So I think that will be dinner tonight. We did pizza and shrimp tacos last night. Of all things. Yep. All right, guys. It's great that everybody's joining us today, even though it is a holiday weekend. So I appreciate you very much. So we are going to get started with our Country Kitchen in Blue piece. So if you guys are ready to get started, so am I. I think that's the right button. We're soon going to have to change all of our artwork on there. Yeah, it's almost that time. So our background for this piece is 1 or 2 coats of deep midnight blue. I really love this blue. It has that slight gray value to it. It's just a nice deep dark blue. Works really, really well. And I like it for that country look. It works nicely. So the color we're going to use is Cobblestone. We've done this background on numerous occasions. This is a nice generic country background. The really nice part about this is it doesn't have to be all that neat and tidy. And it works better if it's not. That appeals to me. I like the heavily distressed kind of worn out look. I was doing some reading recently. I'm working on a piece, and I like looking up the history behind a lot of things. And the piece that I'm working on is based on old flour bags, feed bags, and things like that. And that's where this checkerboard look comes into play quite often. Companies like Purina used to have this checkerboard type design at the top of their packaging and on their feed bags, etc. And in some cases, it's still there, depending on what the package is or what the product is from Purina. When I was growing up, I was a military family, but my parents both came from farm communities. And so we spent a lot of time on the family farms when we were children. Summer vacation would come along. Both our parents worked. So we spent a lot of time, at Grandma and Grandpa's place, and then we were out at the farm with my aunts and uncles, etc. So there's a lot of this influence in a lot of the things that I do. And I think that's for the most part. I think that's where that comes from, is that general farmhouse feel. Everything about it just appealed to me. It still does. I have my cabinet full of keepsakes and oddities and quirky things that I've kept over the years, and a lot of it has to do with that theme, that country theme, that traditional farmhouse type look. I love ticking. I love that whole vibe. It has always appealed to me. I had a rather significant collection of old enamelware and crockery and old rolling pins, and a lot of that I've gotten rid of over the years as we downsized and upsized and moved from pillar to post. So I've gotten a lot of it, moved on. Doesn't change the fact that I still love it. So most of the artwork in my kitchen is just like this. Hi, Maylee. Maylee is 13 and today is her first day with us. Well, welcome, Maylee. I hope you enjoy creating and painting like everybody here. Holly Johnson. Yes, flour and feed companies during the Great Depression started printing various patterns on their feed sacks because they realized that some of these families were reusing the fabric from the feed sacks to make clothing for their children and for themselves. And so they started adding lovely little prints, small little flowers and things like that, gingham and things like that to the fabrics. So there is a great deal of historical significance behind a lot of the design elements that you see in these farmhouse things. The modern farmhouse, for me, some of it appeals, some of it does not. I tend to gravitate towards I made a mess. Too much paint in my brush, but we'll fix that. So a lot of those old ticking patterns, a lot of the pardon me. Forgive me, I'm still coughing and whatnot, clearing crud out of my chest, but I am feeling much, much, much better. So I'm going to dry this real quick. We're going to sand the devil out of this. Yes, the Purina bags did have the chuck wagon on it for a long time. Pardon me. There we go. So we have a rather distressed, as you can see, none of these checks are perfect. They're all varying degrees of opacity. None of them are perfect. Renee is upstairs. I'm going to grab my little sander. Now, we're going to distress this. So I'm just going to sand, and I go in one direction only. And the idea is to wear through the paint in a few places. And you can wear through it as much or as little as you like. I like seeing lots of scratches, and I like wearing through the paint. I like to see those areas where it's imperfect. So there we go. And as I said, you can be as aggressive or as light-handed as you want. That's entirely up to you. If you prefer to see more clean and precise checks, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to take a little bit of water on some shop towel. I'm going to wash off the dust. There we go. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. See, this is what I like. I like seeing these areas where they're worn right through and you can see the color in the background. That really appeals to me. So we're going to age this even further. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of soft black. Love this color. And I'm going to make a high-tech applicator out of this shop towel. So one half I'm going to ball up and I'm going to tuck it inside the other half so that I have a little pillow. And I'm going to moisten that with a little bit of water. You don't need to have a ton of it. It should be wet but not dripping. And I'm going to, in a circular fashion, apply soft black to the outside edge. And I like to make the corners darker, deeper and darker, a little less at the edge. You see how it rounds out just like that. I like it deep and dark. Just like so. There we go. So I'm going to continue. See how it got a nice dark corners like this? I like my corners deep and then a little less at the outside edges. It just gives a nice open area in the center. So I'm going to dry that and then I'm going to repeat it. I love this color. Oh, Heidi for Lot is here. Hello, Heidi. They're getting their first real snowfall of the season. Good heavens. We've had a little bit of snow before Remembrance Day. We got a little dusting. It wasn't much. So we're anticipating getting a little bit, but November for us is usually just rainy. Rainy and wet. And gray. November is gray. It's my least favorite month of the year. It's just always so meh. Okay, so I'm deepening the corners a little bit. Look at that. Oh, I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Nice deep dark corners. Huzzah. There we go. So I've got nice deep dark corners, and I'm going to dry this. And then I'm going to tone all of this with a little bit of asphaltum. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. This looks very dark, but it still looks very cool. So I want to warm this up just a little bit. I like it more warm. So I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. I don't need to darken this any further, I don't think. But I am going to tone it. So I'm going to get a little asphaltum on the palette. And I'm going to use my fugly brush, my favorite fugly brush. And I'm going to thin out a little asphaltum. Oh, goodness. And I'm going to put a wash of that thinned asphaltum over everything. And I'm going to pull it in one direction. So, just like that. Now that little bit of asphaltum just warms this up. Do you see the difference? Right away. Everything takes on this very warm tone, but it doesn't drastically change the color. It just warms it up a little. So this gives us that antique look, that aged and distressed look, without burying everything and without killing that color completely. Et voila. There we go. And I like that it's all going in one direction because we sanded it that way. So any antiquing I put on follows the same direction so that I get a nice uniform look to it. Hi, Phyllis. And Sandy Barton. Hello, Sandy. So we got people watching from Facebook, and we have people watching from YouTube. I've been looking forward to just kicking back and painting today. Been doing a lot of packing and shipping and all the other things, but not a lot of the creative part of what we do. So I've been looking forward to spending a little time with you and painting a little bit. Okay, so from this point, you are ready to trace and transfer your line drawing on. And I did a little prep work so that we can do this in a reasonable amount of time. But I love how deep and dark this is. It takes on that vintagey look. It gives us a nice rich background. But we have this nice lighter area in the center that just sort of draws the eye in. Darker corners, darker sides, and then this becomes that nice highlighted area so that our design is going to be in there, so it pulls the eye toward the center. And Marianne Isley Grobe, hello Marianne, nice to have you. So I've traced and transferred my line drawing on. I've base coated my mixing bowl, my piece of crockery. And this one is base coated with a little bit of cobblestone. I love this color. This cobblestone it's such a nice neutral. It's a warm neutral. It has that nice warm tone to it. It works so well with this color palette, and it's such a versatile color. This is the same color we used for those checks in the background. So we have this nice warm gray tone in here. And then the stripe across the center is this. It's country red. You can use almost any red you like, but I gravitate towards this country red. Another reason I use the country red is in the mate to this piece. The Country Kitchen in red is done with this as well. So the background is done with this. So Love this color. I think it's one of my favorite reds. I use it an awful lot. So I've base coated with that. We have all of our lettering transferred on. So it's all ready to go. So I'm going to put my stencils away. And I'm going to grab a 1/2 inch angled shader. If I could find one. There's my 1/2 inch. I'm playing with a set of brushes these days that I don't often use. And I forget to use them because, well, although I have a ton of them, I have a tendency, like most of us, I get into a habit and I use very specific brushes. But I wanted to show you these. These are Dynasty's Black Silver. This is their a more economical brush line where they've used a lighter handle and a lighter ferrule, but they've used a really tough filament for the business end. So all of the dollar value in this brush is right here, right where it should be. And so we've got this really great filament, an economical ferrule, not a cheap ferrule, economical. So it's a lighter weight material, a nice painted black filler, and then they've used a lightweight wood handle for this. It's a very comfortable brush. It's nicely balanced, but these brushes are very affordable. And you can't kill this filament. It is so durable. I have oodles of them, and I just forget to use them every once in a while. So I thought it would be a great idea to play with those today. I'm using my Jo Sonja Fast Dry Glaze, which I use for everything under the sun. We're going to use that. And we're going to start by adding a little highlight into our background. Back here. And we're going to do that with a tiny bit of warm white. What would I suggest if you don't have cobblestone? Just a second. If you don't have cobblestone, you can use sand gray, or you can use Portobello. Portobello is a little darker. It's about 1 value darker, but you can add a touch of white to it if you find it too dark. But even by itself, it's still a great color. And remember, we're going to highlight this anyway. But Portobello is just 1 value darker, so you can use that. It's a great color. And sand gray is a little bit lighter. It's like 1 value difference either way. So I'm going to load my brush with a little bit of Jo Sonja's. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of asphaltum. And we're going to shade under the lip. Right here. Under those flowers. And under the lip of that brush, under the lip of the picture, with a float of thinned asphaltum. So we have that nice deep dark float. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to deepen it. Hi, Deb. Good morning. Hi, Shar and Liz Minardo. Hello, Liz. I love asphaltum for shading cobblestone. I love how it looks. It maintains that really warm tone. And it gives it a nice antique look without making it look dirty. For years, I used burnt umber for antiquing and things like that. But I often found that if you got a little heavy-handed with it, it just ended up looking dirty. And I didn't care for that. So I started using asphaltum, and I really love how it keeps everything nice and warm. Hi, Corinna. And Linda. And Maggie Bulger, hello. It is, it's a dreary day here too. It's very wet. Hi, Patty. So, I'm going to shade the backside of our... Well, I love this color over top. Hi, Robert. Sunny day here. It's not sunny here. It's gray. It's very gray. It looks like, 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's very gloomy. There we go. So, I like to do this a couple of times. I just love this tone. There we go. So, deep and dark. Don't forget to get in underneath those flowers. Just like that. So as I'm applying each layer, I'm working in a little. So you bring that float in just a little. And what it does is it gives you a nice round look. So darker value at the outside edge. And then as you bring that float up, walk it in a little bit. So that you end up with all of the lighter area right here in the center, just slightly to the left. So in here and in here. So this is your lightest area. And now I'm going to do the same thing to that warm white base. And I want to keep that center left the lightest. So just in here is going to be the lightest. And I'm going to do the same thing to that white trim. Don't forget, get up underneath those flowers. That's going to give you that nice lift. So I'm going to dry this really well. Linda Johnson, she's still at work decorating for the Christmas. There we go. Now, we've got a little bit of soft black on the palette. I'm going to bring in a little of that. I'm going to thin it out quite a bit. And I'm going to put a little bit of that over top of that float behind that flower on that warm white. It's heavily thinned. It's just going to give us that little deep and dark that we need. Just on those whites, it's going to give us a little more depth. There we are. And then under this leaf, I'm going to put just a little shadow to mimic the leaf. I'm going to bring it up just a little so you can see it. I'm just going to mimic that leaf and this petal. Just like that. So it's just a little float of that heavily thinned soft black, just to give that leaf and that petal a little more elevation. It's going to push it forward a little further. And then you can deepen it. This is a weak float. A little deeper. Just like that. So that heavily thinned soft black, all it does is just deepen that shading a little bit. It is heavily thinned. Just like that. Just gives all of that shading a little more depth. Doesn't have to be a strong float, doesn't have to be a perfect float. It is heavily diluted, and we're not using any of that color there. So the important thing when you're developing something like this, so especially if something is supposed to be cylindrical or curved, darkest value, and then have them gradually come in towards the center. It helps give you the look that there's a curve there. So I'm going to deepen that just a touch. There we go. I'm a fan. I love what that little float does. It doesn't have to be a really strong one, but that little float makes a world of difference. So I'm going to dry this really well, and then we're going to talk about hydrating. Oh. No, we are not in a drought. We don't have that concern. I'm going to. Sorry if you lost me there for a second. I needed to blow my nose. I didn't think you needed to hear that, so I hit the mute button. So we're going to highlight this with a little bit of warm white. Because we've put so much asphaltum on this, we're going to be able to highlight with warm white. If you don't have it, don't be afraid to use a little bit of titanium white. I'm going to just float the top and front edge like that with a little bit of warm white. Just going to brighten that a little bit. And in the center portion of this, I'm going to put a highlight right here, right at the edge, and then I'm going to pull that color down to the bottom, just to brighten that center portion of the bottom of that. It doesn't have to be much. And then we've got a little area on the inside of the handle right here. I'm going to, we need a little highlight here, just a little. It doesn't have to be much, just a little float right there. There's just this small area where the light catches the inside edge of that handle. So we've got a nice little. So I'm going to dig out, I've got a small stencil brush. If I can find my good dry brush. There it is. So this is a mezzaluna. This is an extra large. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that warm white. And I'm going to scumble it on the palette till the brush is almost dry. And this is my light impact point right here. So I'm going to start with a dry brush right there. And I'm going to bring it out a little. And it's a C shape. You see how I'm... So nice little dry brush. It should be lightest out here, brightest right here. There we go. There we are. So I like this sort of C shape, but it needs to continue. So we get that softness, but your light impact point is right here. There we go. So now we've got a nice little highlight on the belly of our bowl. And then before we do anything else, one of the key features to these old stoneware crockery bowls is the fact that they've got some, flaws and bits and bobs. It was the type of clay they were made out of. So I like to pick up a little bit of asphaltum on a fugly brush or a toothbrush or whatever you have handy. And you're going to focus a little spatter on the bowl. And it's fine spatter. It's not heavy, but we're going to focus it on the center portion of the bowl. And you can do the same thing with a little bit of soft black. I love this. There's something about this old style crockery, that distressed look to it that just really appeals. So you see, we get just that fine spatter, and I try to isolate it just to the bowl. So much fun. So we're going to move over to the background for a moment. And I'm going to use my 1/2-inch angled shader, the one that I was using for our crockery. And I'm going to use a little bit of water or a little bit of glaze. And we're going to pick up just a small amount of warm white on the brush. And we're going to thin it out. And we're going to put a nice little very watery highlight on the background. And it is watery. I don't want this opaque. And we're just going to sort of pity-pat a little float, just a little bit of lighter value in here, like so. We're not looking for fully opaque. We're not looking for perfect. It's just going to give it a slight value change back there. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. And I come up about maybe a little better than halfway up the bowl. We don't want perfect. It's going to have a watery effect. Just get it a little closer so you can see. It's not perfect. Just a little cloudy, like a soft highlight back there. And then we're going to take a little bit of that soft black, and I'm going to float up against that line like so. and then in behind like that. I just want to create a brighter value above the table line and a darker one below. Just like that. And then shade underneath the bowl. And get that bowl to really pop off that background. And get it underneath those flowers and the leaves. There we go. So now we have a nice contrast between that background and the top of the table. Doesn't have to be much. Hi, Val. And Kathy. Hello, Kathy. Here we are. Make sure that's good and dry. So, now, what do we get a little bee? We're going to start working on these leaves. I've got a little bit of lush green or antique green. Either one of those will work just fine. I'm going to give myself a clean palette here. I like a clean palette. So a little bit of lush green. We've got a little bit of new leaf. Love this green. This was one of the new colors for this year. And a little bit of margarita. Love that bright yellow green. It's a great color. Hi, Robin. So a little bit of margarita. And we're going to need either black green or plantation pine. You just need a really dark green. And that is our shading color for these leaves. Now, I know you guys have seen me paint these leaves a million times. But it is always a good thing to reiterate. So I'm going to use number 5 round. You can use whatever size brush works for you, but I generally gravitate towards a number 5. It just seems to be my, that brush that works well for me. And we're going to put a base color following the shape of the leaf. We're just going to base in these leaves. A little bit of lush green. I love this green. Antique green or lush green. Lush green is a little more opaque. I just love this color. It just works so well. Same with antique green. But the lush green I'm very partial to. It's an easy green to work with. And it seems to work well over almost any color. So it's forgiving. Look at that. Doesn't need to be fully opaque. We got little leaves here. These are just simple little heart-shaped leaves. If you were to lay them flat, they would be almost heart-shaped. It's a nice leaf shape for a generic flower. So I've got 1 coat of that lush green on all of these leaves. And I like doing the leaves start to finish because of the type of flower that we're doing. And these ones are so simple and they work up so quickly. So I'm going to dry this really well. Here, Miss Mace. Hi, Papa Dog. She has a ball today. Hi. She came for a visit. We seem to have lost YouTube.
Okay.
No, we've lost the chat for YouTube, I should say. So, the shading on these leaves...
It seems really dark.
Yeah, I don't know why. The shading on these leaves is a little bit of that black green. And we're going to shade up underneath the flowers. Ooh. We do the shading underneath the flowers at the base of the leaf first.
Is that better?
Yeah, that looks pretty good. I like to do that shading first because once this is dry, then we can float down the center vein without removing the previous float, which is important. So, nice little U-shaped float at the base of the leaf where it would join the stem. In this case, it's going to go underneath each of the flowers. And on those small leaves, it's just a little U-shaped float. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I know I say this often, that base coats do not need to be fully opaque in most cases. That's not true all the time, but in most cases. In this case, because we're working with 4 different shades of green, we're putting 4 different layers of green over top of a base coat. So we don't need to have a fully opaque base because we're going to be layering other colors on top of it. And those other colors are going to fill in where the first coat did not. So, hi Patrick. We lost the chat for a minute. So I didn't see your question. Hi Cindy. And Louise Long. No, I did not. Go ahead and re-ask. Yeah, for a minute there, we lost the YouTube chat window. Hi, Claudette. It is, I know Claudette lives in the Grand Lake area, which is, 45 minutes from us here. And so, yes, Claudette, I know it must be icky today. What base color would you use if you wanted to paint the pot on a wood table? Raw sienna. Yeah, I would use something like a raw sienna. You could even use an orange, depending on the color that you're going to do the wood grain. But I gravitate towards a raw sienna. I like the more yellow undertones of it. Raw sienna would work beautifully if you wanted a wood-toned tabletop as opposed to the checkerboard. That would work beautifully. Yep, and we've got, look how much brighter that is. I don't know what Renee does when he works this magic, but yeah. It does look much better. So we've got that first shading on. So now that it's dry, I'm going to put the shading down the center vein of each leaf. I like to do it once the first shading is done, simply because a lot of the time it just takes it off if the paint is still wet. And that can be very frustrating. So there we go. Float down the center vein. Look at that. So now we've got 3 layers of green on already, and we've only used 2 colors. So the next color we're going to put on is sort of a mid-valued highlight. You're welcome, Patrick. So I'm using a little bit of that new leaf, which is that it's a brighter green. It's a little more transparent, but it also has a whitish cast to it. There's a lighter thing. So we're going to float the lower edge down the center vein and along the bottom edge of each leaf, like so, with that new leaf. This is going to give us a nice tone. So now we're working on our 4th layer of green. Highlight. And it's a float. It's not a fully opaque coat of color. But look at what it does for these leaves. It just pops them. And we still haven't technically highlighted these leaves. This is just a mid-value. We're giving it a little more brightness. It gives it that, I don't know, there's something really lush about using this new leaf on this type of application. It just gives, I don't know, a nice little boost to the color so that when we put our highlight on, we're going to see a brighter value of green. And I love how this looks. Just gives everything a little more lush look to it. Love that color. Hi, Becca. Don't forget to hit that like button. I'm using a couple of Deckwart's new colors. I'm also using Tea Berry. I love that color. It's just such a pretty tone. So I'm going to dry that. Now we're going to highlight. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. I'm going to switch to a 1/2 inch. Or this is a 1/4, sorry. 1/4. And we're going to pick up a little bit of margarita. 1/4 or 3/8 is ideal for this. Oh, didn't get enough. There we go. Okay. So we're going to put a highlight on the edges of these leaves with a little bit of thinned margarita. I don't like this color full strength, but I love what it does for this. Look at that. Over top of that new leaf, it takes on a really bright look. And with the smaller brush, it exposes some of that new leaf. So you're not burying it completely. I love how this stuff looks. So switch to that new leaf, or that 1/4 inch or a 3/8 angled shader for this part. So it puts the highlight at the edge of the leaf, but it doesn't bury that new leaf as we put it in. I love the brightness. I love that it takes on a bit more acid. It brings in a really sharp, almost acid green tone to those leaves. Really nice and bright. I love it. Such a pretty green. I am a big fan of margarita. It's just a great highlight color for so many different greens. And then when you pair it up with that new leaf, it just takes on a really nice, bright, vibrant green. It doesn't look so yellow. It just gets this really great tone to it. Very pretty. But you still get that nice bright highlight. I'm with you, Becca. I love green. I still think that Bahama blue, certain reds, Tuscan red, country red. Yeah, I love those. It's hard for me to pick one color. I love all colors. So, there is my highlight. Nice. Now, I'm going to grab, pardon me, I'm going to grab my 1/2 inch angle again. We're going to deepen the shading. I like to come back in, especially after you've been highlighting. Sometimes those center veins and those shadows become a little, I don't know, they get a little watered down or a little less defined. When you come back in and you sharpen those shadows with a float of that black green, things just take on a whole new look. The leaves become more lively, more defined. They just become more vivid in general, and it makes the highlights pop out really nicely. I like to come back in and deepen all of those shadows. So if you were keeping score, we had 2 floats of black green, then we had a float of new leaf, then we had a highlight of margarita, and then we come back in yet again and deepen the shading with another coat of that black green, and that's what gives us all of that depth. It makes our leaves pop really nicely. It also separates them, divides them, and it gives them really nice depth and shape. And there we go. So we have these really nice, lush looking leaves. Look at that. Really pretty. They stand out nicely against that background. So I'm going to dry this. Hi, Carol. So we're going to dry this really well. And this is such a simple leaf, but it's layers, layers, layers. That's what gives us all of that depth. And this next step is going to make those leaves pop out even further. We're going to grab a nice round brush. You need one with a good point on it. For this, I'm going to use my go-to, which is a number 5. I always gravitate towards a number 5. It's just that size and shape that I like. So I'm using a Dynasty Black Gold number 5 round. And we're going to use some warm white. And as usual, I'm going to use a little bit of Joe Sonia's on my brush. And we're going to pick up warm white. And we're going to use comma strokes to do these flowers. Now, there's a wooden spoon here. I'm going to be painting over that for this flower, but we are going to paint that in after the fact. So I'm going to start there. And at the edge of this petal, I'm going to put a comma stroke. And another one on the other side. And then one straight down the middle. We want brush marks. Do you see that? So, hi Donna. Hi Rich. Happy Thanksgiving to you both. So, 3 strokes per petal. They don't have to be perfect. Now, when you've got one that goes underneath the leaf here, you're just going to have to fudge it a little bit, like so. 1, 2, 3. And it also, we have one here that tucks in behind our picture, so we're going to have to take a little care there. But we want to keep those brush marks, just like that. And then we have this one that is in behind that leaf. Take a little care. 1, 2, 3. I like the brush marks. 1, 2, 3. I love this. This is such a basic and simple flower, but it has great impact. It works so well. It has that, simple 5-petal flower. It's light, it's airy, it takes up a lot of visual space, but it doesn't look heavy. And I think that's one of the reasons that this type of floral appeals. It's very light and very airy. And simple, so it has that country appeal to it. These are super simple. And they're not trying. You can't really mess these up because it's just a stroke. So even if they're not perfect, they still work. Just like that. And I leave the center for last because you can. So super easy strokes, 3 little strokes. Look how fun that is. Dawn, these are super easy. If you've got the little circle in the center, use that as your target to pull the stroke back. They don't have to be perfect. They don't even have to connect to the center. You see how ragged some of mine are. And that's okay. Hi, Carol. Good to have you with us. So, I'm going to dry this. Now, these are a little heavier. The paint is a little heavier. I rather like that. See the texture that it's created? You don't have to make these perfectly opaque. It makes these flowers feel light. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to base coat the center of that flower with a little bit of warm white as well, because we're going to use a yellow in there. So again, neatness doesn't count. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. These do not have to be perfect. I prefer them to not be because then they have a little more character and they're a little more interesting. So they don't have to be perfect. So just painting that little circle in the middle. And as you can see, some of those petals do not reach the center, and that's okay. Super easy. So I'm going to dry that. And then we have a little buddy we got to take care of. I'm kind of obsessed with bees, so I had to put a little bee in. You can leave it out if you're not a fan. If you find it a little too much, that's okay. I like the bee. I'm a bee fan. I like my bees. So I just want to make sure that this is dry because it's me and I will smear it if I don't. So I'm going to grab, I have rigor here, a little bit of warm white, and we're going to base the fuzzy butt of our bumblebee with a little bit of warm white. Sort of a reverse teardrop. And then we're going to do the same thing to the wings of our bumblebee. Comme ça. Just like that. So we have wings and butt. Love these. Would you use glycine if you want to tint the pink, purple or pink? Absolutely. I'm going to use a little bit of pink to tint these. So while the bee is drying, we're going to add a little bit of color to the center of our flower. So I'm using a little bit of tea berry. I love this color. This does wonderful things for white flowers. So I'm going to grab, if I can find it, my 1/2 inch angle and a little bit of glazing medium. And I'm not using this color full strength. And I'm going to put a nice little float at the base of the leaf, or the petal, sorry, where it joins the center. And I'm going to put a little float of tea berry. Darkest value towards the center. I love tea berry. It's just such a pretty, pretty tone. Not quite a coral, not quite a pink. It's one of those unique colors. And it's just so gorgeous. It makes beautiful holly berries too, I might add. Base your holly berries with tea berry and then shade them with a nice deep red. It makes for lovely, lovely holly berries. Nice rich color. I love this. And if you want it darker, you can do this again. I just like the softer tone of this. I just like that it kind of adds a little blush of color to these flowers. And it's just a little U-shaped float, darkest value towards the center. Super easy. And as I said, you can make it as dark or as light as you like. They don't have to be consistent. I love this tone. It's so pretty. But I need to rinse out my brush because I'm bleeding color everywhere. Here we go. Better. When it gets to the point that your float's going all the way to the edge of your petal, it's time to rinse out your brush. Here we go. Pretty, pretty. I love this tone. So rich. Liz, tea berry is available from Stockade. You won't find it at Michael's, unfortunately. But it's just such a pretty color. So there's that little bit of tea berry. Now, if you want to brighten this flower a little bit, you can take a little float of warm whites and you can float the edge of the petals with a little bit of warm white just to make them a little brighter if you find that they're perhaps a little wanting. Put a little float of warm white out at the very edge of the petal. So I'm going to dry this. And if you want to get the sled kit or a sled before December 7th, we are shipping right up until Friday, but needs to go in the mail by Friday in order for you to have it by the 7th. So if you haven't ordered one and would like one before the 7th, anytime would be the best bet. We have been shipping like mad women here. So there's that little blush of pink. I love this tone. Now I'm going to use a little bit of Sunny Day in the center of our flowers. honestly could use almost any yellow that appeals to you, but I'm going to use Sunny Day because I love it. It's a great color. And I'm also going to use that for my bumblebee here. We're going to paint his fuzzy butt with Sunny Day. So whatever yellow you decide to use for the centers of the flowers, make sure you use it on your bumblebee as well. So I'm going to put Sunny Day in the center of my flowers. You could use marigold, you could use whatever yellow appeals to you. It doesn't have to be exactly this one. I'm just a fan of Sunny Day, that's all. Haven't seen one in a while, so Sunny Day it is. So nice little bit of Sunny Day. Love this color. So I'm going to dry this really well. Yes, Donna, yours actually should arrive anytime. We had a ridiculous volume of orders on that the first and second day. So for those 2 days, we started shipping on the 7th, and we've been shipping every day, and we've just finished the first 2 days. So we're catching up, but it has just been insane, the number of kits that went out for the 12 days of Christmas, and they're still going out. But if you want one before December 7th, you're going to have to place your order this week so that we can get them out to you. With Canada Post being on strike, of course, small packet, anything under a half pound that would normally go letter mail is going to be delayed. There's no doubt about that. Simply because nothing is moving. And the shipping costs for something that size to go through Purolator is ridiculous. So, or to go through any of the other couriers is just insane. So we're trying to keep the cost as low as possible, and still get them out of here on time. Of course, companies like Purolator, FedEx, and UPS are also backlogged because of the sheer volume of people shipping and the time of year. So, as I said, we are packing and we are shipping, but if you want it in time for the 7th, it would be a good idea to order it this week. What is it that needs to ship? For the kit, we have the kits for the 12 Days of Christmas sled, and it is all-inclusive, so it has the full color print pattern, the surfaces, all of the embellishments, plus a couple of bonus items, etc. So it ships. It's a pound. 1 pound package, so they all go Purolator. If it's less than a half pound, it has to go letter mail, just because the cost is exorbitant. So those will be delayed. Those small things will be delayed, and if it goes in a package or a box, it's going to be shipped and will be there within 10 days. So we're just trying to make sure that everything gets out of here as quickly as possible. The nice part is that they're all insured, so and it is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it after the fact. So we used the tea berry to shade the outside, but we're also going to create an orange color for the center of the flowers and for the bumblebee, using tea berry. So I really love these little simple little flowers. So I'm going to put a float at the bottom of each center with tea berry, and it turns into a wonderful hot orange when you put it over top of that Sunny Day. You get this gorgeous rich orange. It's so bright. And it's happy orange. It's really sunny and happy. I like sunny and happy. And then we're going to do the same thing to the bumblebee. We're going to put a float down this one side, like so. So we have this nice little glow going. I love that this Carolyn, no, it's not private. The 12 Days of Christmas live goes December 7th. It's open to everybody. But if you want to paint along or paint the piece, we have a full, complete kit. So, our 12 Days of Christmas, we do it annually. We have 12 big prizes to give away that day. We are also doing a fundraiser for our local animal shelter that day. So we have a lot going on. It's going to be a fun day. We've got lots and lots of fun stuff to do. And we're painting a Santa for that day on a little wooden sled. If you haven't seen it, this is the sled we're painting on December 7th. You should get an email when it's been shipped. Yes, Dorothy. They do have a habit sometimes of ending up in junk mail or in the trash bin. So if you have any questions or if you're expecting it, the kit includes everything and includes the shipping as well, $49. And it's on the website. There we go. There we are. So, look how fun that is. I love that. So we're going to add a fun little detail to these leaves and these flowers. I'm going to do that with my favorite gel pen. I love my gel pen. If I can find my gel pen. There it is. It's hiding. YouTube is doing weird things.
I can't even access YouTube on my phone right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
So around the center on the petals, I like to do this. I'm just putting a few little details like this around the center on each petal. So one long line and then, some short ones on either side. Now you can do this with a brush and a little bit of thinned lamp black if you want to, but it's just easier to do it with this black gel pen. And it just adds a little texture towards the center of the flower. And it's an easy way to get that texture without huge amount of trouble. My hands look nice. I have freckles, dark spots too. I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm probably closer to like an early June chicken. So there we go. We've got nice little texture around the center of our flowers. I'm going to use a rigger. We're going to add a little bit of texture to right to the center. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of the chat, YouTube is doing weird things this morning. So in that shaded area on the flower and onto the petals, I'm going to put a few little dip dots of asphaltum. And I like to bring a few of those dots out onto the petals as well. They don't have to be perfect. And it covers roughly half. Roughly. Doesn't have to be, straight across. We kind of want this to look a little more natural. So just a nice light. Some big, some small. They don't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to do the same thing with a little bit of warm white. But this one or that one, black paint. Because I have a knack of getting paint all over everything. Hi, Deb. Oh my God, you get home at 2:30. You were in Florida. So you're a little flight lagged. So then we're going to do the upper half of those flowers with a little bit of warm white. It just gives them a little highlight and a little texture, and it softens these flowers dramatically. Hi, Jackie. So there we go. Little bit of a highlight. Virginia, I have a design with them filled with cookies and cookie cutters with a little crockery pot. I have one. I'm kind of obsessed with the crockery thing. So I'm going to dry this, and we're going to add a little more. This is a fun detail. It softens the flowers, softens the leaves. This is where we put in all of those interesting little textures. And we have a choice. The wooden spoon can stay tucked behind the flowers, or it can go in front of the flowers, either or. I kind of like it in front. It gives it a little more depth. So I'm going to make sure this is good and dry, because if I don't, I will smear it. So I need my extra long detail liner. This one is a number 5 extra long detail liner. It's a Dynasty Micron. And I'm going to start with a little bit of thinned warm white. You can use titanium white for this, or thinned warm white. Whatever works for you, whatever you have. So we're going to start with a little stroke right here. And then we're going to put a squiggly line around the edges of the petals. So that little stroke gives us a little highlight and creates a fold in the petal. Right there. So just gives this little flower a little extra texture, a little extra depth. And it changes the shape of this flower just slightly. So, press down, get a little teardrop shape, comma stroke shape, right at the edge of the petal where it joins the center. And then I like that squiggly little line around the edge of the petal. It does not have to be right on the edge. I like that it extends past the end of the petal a bit. It just gives it a little softness. It makes the flowers appear a little more delicate. Just like that. Easy peasy, this part. Could I say the name of the detail brush again? Yes, this is a Dynasty Micron. It's a 5/0 extra long detail liner. Donna, yeah, you could do it with a gel pen, absolutely. So if you want to speed up, say you're doing something like this for craft shows or for bazaars. There's nothing to stop you from using a white gel pen to do this. I use gel pens quite often for a great many things. And I'm going to use a Posca pen towards the end for one of the... If you have a fine enough Posca pen, yes, absolutely. I am a big fan of Posca pens. I've developed a real love for them. So, see how that little scribble of white just softens the edges of these flowers a little bit? They just look a little less heavy. Have a great weekend, Lucy. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to do something similar to the leaves with a little bit of margarita and a touch of warm white. I'm a big fan. I like to add a delicate look. So, margarita, thin it out really well. And then we're going to put a little bit of warm white in there. The warm white is just going to make that margarita a little bit more opaque. And I'm going to use that to give each of my leaves a very fine scribbly line. I just like how this looks. It gives the leaves a nice delicate look and a simple little highlight. Those little squiggly lines do not have to be directly on the edge of the leaf. They can extend past the edge of the leaf, but it softens the overall look. So if you have any edges where, things are perhaps less than perfect, less than crisp, this actually makes things a little bit crisper, if that makes any sense. Cleans up some of those little flaws or perceived flaws. Here we go. And then you can add a little stroke in a few places just to bump up that highlight at the center vein. Just a little. Tiny little bit.
Don't forget your curlicue.
Nope. And then to connect these little leaves, we're going to use that same thinned green. And then, of course, we've got a curlicue, because, me, like my vines and tendrils. And we've got one down here. Little vines, little tendrils. I like my little vines and tendrils. There we go. So I'm going to dry that really well. We're going to finish off our bumblebee. This little guy up here. And then we're going to tackle that lettering. This is a really pretty font. I just got this one for the life of me off the top of my head. I can't remember what it's called. But it is a very pretty font, a little more contemporary, but I thought it worked really well with this. Here we go. Everything's got to be nice and dry. Love this. I just love how sunny and bright this looks with just that little pop of yellow in there. It just makes everything pop really nicely. So we have a bumblebee, and I'm going to use a little bit of lamp black. He's a cute little bumbler. A little bit of lamp black. I love bumblebees. If you have any of those little cutout, laser cut bumblebees, it would be really cute on this too. I framed my piece. I just love how they look framed. I think it suits my kitchen and my home very well. Other than a red background, can you suggest a companion piece that would go into my coastal kitchen? The blue is perfect, but not the red. I agree. A coastal kitchen, that blue gray tone, I actually would do the same background on the other one. I have a companion piece, but it has a red background. You could simply switch it out and do it in blue. Because the color palette is very similar, the red isn't going to, changing it to red isn't going to drastically change the piece. So you can still go with that blue background if you prefer that. But if you wanted to go with a different color, you could use a coral tone would be pretty back there. Yeah, I think a rustic coral would be pretty. But I really do think that going with that darker blue, you could even use a green. If you could find a nice green in the same value as this, I think a green would look good. Do I keep the glass when I frame? Yes, I do keep the glass. Hang on a sec. I'll show you. I love how these look when they're framed. I think they're very pretty framed. I have a great many of them. Every one of my country pieces is framed, and I love them. And as I said, you can use any color that works for you in the background. I thought I missed a question there somewhere. Are Posca pens different from markers? Yes, they are. Posca pens contain an acrylic paint. And so it is actually paint when you're working on them. I have them in a variety of sizes, and I've just fallen in love with them for a whole bunch of different applications. But this one in particular really appeals to me. So I've got my bumblebee is all done. So I'm going to use a little bit of thinned lamp black in my liner. And we're going to create a fuzzy butt on our bumblebee. So I put a few strokes right down at the point of his bottom. And then I'm going to make a few hair-like lines across the center. Like so. So that we have a little fuzzy butt bumblebee. I love bumblebees. Bumble or honey, regardless. So I'm going to dry that. And I'm going to use a little bit of Bahama blue. To shade the wings. So just a tiny bit. You don't need a lot. And we're going to use Bahama blue in the lettering, so you need it to have a little bit anyway. So a little bit of Bahama blue to shade the base of the wings where it joins the body. Like so. Just a little. It's a tiny little float. And we're going to highlight the bee with a tiny float of warm white. Now the highlight goes on this side. Little float of warm white. One on the thorax, which is that little middle section of the bee, and then one on the top of the head. And it's heavily thinned. To do all the fine details, you'd need a 7.7, which is the finest one. It's these ones here. This one is a 0.7 millimeter. It's a very fine point. I love these. And I use these ones a lot. They're also in this set, this These are the 1 millimeter. And they come to a nice fine tip as well. Little heavy for perhaps doing the outlining, but great for lettering. So there's a variety of sizes available. These ones come to as a 1 millimeter point. And then there's these ones that are the bullet point pens. Also excellent. I'm a big fan. So these ones have the bullet point like a Sharpie. So as I said, I have them in every size I can find. So, and they're also available in a metallic. So if you want a good gold paint pen, they have them in this line. These ones here, the 1 millimeter or 0.7 point, these ones are excellent as well. And that's the metallic. They have them in gold and silver. So there's a good selection depending on what your application is. These are the smaller ones. You can get Posca pens up to great big wide paint pens. They're absolutely fabulous and very versatile. And the quality of the paint is exceptional. There's nice opacity. They cover very, very well. I love this piece in the frame. I think it really works, but it works anyway. So we've got our little bumblebee. It's highlighted. I am going to take my liner and a little bit of thinned warm white. I like to put just a few little strokes of warm white for highlight on the highlight side, which is the upper portion. Don't forget the little dot highlight on the body. And then I'm going to use my gel pen to add a few little details to the wings. I like this sketchy little scribbly little outline with the black gel pen. I'm a fan. It just gives the wings nice little detail, but it also makes them a bit more solid, gives them a little more detail. The other fun thing is you can take that gel pen and do the same thing to the body, just to give him a little bit. A few little dip dots, little dots of black to shade the underside of our bee. Et voila! Cute little bumblebee. Such an easy way to paint a bumblebee. So we have a wooden spoon right here. I'm going to use a little bit of raw sienna. I like raw sienna. You're welcome. Do you treat them like paint when you finish? Absolutely. They are a water-based acrylic paint, so you can, once they're completely dry, just treat it like any other paint. That's the nice part. So a little bit of raw sienna. You're going to base coat your spoon. It's going to take probably a couple of coats because I'm working right over top of my flower here. There's nothing to stop you from just leaving it tucked in behind, but I kind of like the composition of having it tucked in front of everything. That's just a personal preference, but it doesn't have to. If you want to leave it behind everything, absolutely. So, raw sienna. This is pretty straightforward. We're just going to do some very basic shading on this piece. On this part. A little bit of asphaltum. I just want to make sure that I've got this well based. There we go. So I'm going to dry this real quick. So, as I said in my last newsletter, I missed the Mondays because I was sick, but my last newsletter, we are doing a fundraiser with all proceeds going to our local animal shelter on the same day as the 12 days of Christmas. And what we're doing this year is on the day, anyone that donates will have their name put on the wheel. And at various points throughout the live, we're going to spin the wheel. And from that list of names, we're going to select 12 winners. And each of those winners will receive a signed original piece of artwork. So that's what our plan is. So I will remind everybody that, pardon me, it is not the size of the donation that counts. Every donation makes a difference when it comes to our local animal shelter. We are grateful and thankful for everything that we receive. And we wanted to thank you for your generosity. So our contribution to this is going to be those original pieces of artwork. We have 12 of them set aside. They are all signed. And so that's what we're doing on the day. Hi, Julie. Say hi to everybody at the Southern Oregon Decorative Artists. I have a great many lovely friends out there, so please say hello. And of course, a big hug for you, Julie. If you haven't met Julie Verona, she is just one of the sweetest people. She was a marvelous, marvelous hostess to me while I was there. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to shade it with a little bit of asphaltum. There we go. I'm going to make sure that's good and dry because, you know, it's me. Claire is multitasking. I love, you know what, Farm Fresh Berries is one of my favorites. I love that. Again, it has to do with that crockery. Really appeals to me. I know we'll miss the glitter beard as well. I will miss the glitter beard. Renee is not at all upset about that. So I'm going to shade the base of the spoon right there where it enters the bowl with a little float of asphaltum. How do you donate? On the day, you can donate through the super chat on YouTube, or we will have, and we do have, a donation button on the home page of the website. So you can donate either there or on the YouTube channel, either one. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. So I'm shading both sides of this wooden spoon a little bit. I kind of want it to have that wooden look, so I'm not really. So there we go. I'm going to dry that. And while I've got a little bit of asphaltum on my brush, I'm going to thin it out a little bit. And I'm going to put a little float in behind this flower right there, just to push that one back a little. And I'm going to put a little float at the bottom of this petal and a little float here, just to give it a little more depth, so it pushes that flower back just a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to put a very small highlight on this wooden spoon. And I'm going, oh goodness. I'm going to put it like so. Little highlight at the top. And then down the middle, it's just a little touch of that warm white. If you want to dry brush it in, you sure can. It's just a little warm white down the middle of that. Super simple. So I'm going to dry this, and we're ready to start that lettering. And this part is pretty easy. Now, when I trace and transfer a piece on, one of the things that I like to do, I tape my line drawing onto the back so I can drop it in to place. Now I'm going to transfer the word country back onto this. I'm going to use a little bit of white graphite. I'm also going to use some gray graphite because it's going to go over a white flower. Obviously, white graphite isn't going to show up. So I'm going to use my gel pen and a little bit of not too firm pressure, but just going to trace out the word country. Like so. There we are. So the white shows up, but on the white it doesn't. So I'm going to grab a little bit of gray graphite. And where the flower is, I'm going to use the gray graphite so that it stands out. There we go. Ta-da! No rules that say you can't use both. So I'm going to use a white Posca pen and a black Posca pen for this one. Because of the colors we're using in the background, some of the lettering gets a little lost. So I'm going to use the white. Give it a good shake. Woo. And I'm going to use the white Posca pen to write the word country in white. And my pen just decided to vomit on my piece. There we go. There's no other word for that, by the way. Fortunately, it is acrylic paint, so it's easy to clean up. I just applied a little too much pressure to my pen, that's all. And pushed it so it opened up. So, there's the word country done in white. And I'm going to dry that real quick. Oh, yeah. Oh. Here we go. So on the day, we've got we have 12 incredible prizes to give away that day. As part of the giveaways for the day. And then we have for the donations on the day, you can do PayPal on the website. We actually have a link. There we go. So then I just used the black Posca pen to one side of the white so that the word country stands out. Just like that. So I'm going to dry that real quick, and then we're going to talk about the rest of the lettering. I'm going to make sure that that pen is dry. So I'm going to paint the lettering with a number 2 rigger. But we need to lift this lettering slightly off the surface. So we're going to put a shadow in. I'm going to use a 3/8 angle. I must have a 3/8 here someplace. Where's my 3/8? There it is. Got a faux squirrel 3/8. So I'm going to use a little bit of soft black. Maybe. Where's my soft black? There it is. Okay. I'm going to use a little bit of soft black, and we're going to float on the background darkest value towards the letter. Just like that. Little float to one side on the background. These do not have to be perfect floats. Just like so. And I like to do this first because it makes painting the lettering just a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about painting onto the lettering. And I know that that can be frustrating if you're struggling with a float on white lettering and you're getting this dark color onto the white. So I always prefer to do this first. It just makes everything look a little bit cleaner. There we go. So that little float, although it may not seem like much, is going to make a huge difference in how this lettering looks. That little float is going to give this lettering a lot more elevation than you would expect. So I've done it for the top one. I'm going to come down to the bottom to this one, and we're going to do the same thing. Just like so. That little float is going to make a world of difference to this lettering. Gives it height, gives it a bit more interest. Just makes it stand out a little bit better, especially on that dark background. You want a little bit more oomph, bang for your buck, as they say. So number 2 or a 0 rigger, either one will work just fine for this size font. Either one of those brushes, you can paint up to 1/4 inch wide. Hi, Kay. So I'm going to come up here and we'll do this one first. So all of these verticals are going to get done first. And this lettering is fairly simple. We're only doing 1 coat of warm white on each of those verticals. Easy peasy. I like the sort of distressed look of this font. It's clean, it's crisp, but at the same time, it allows you to be a little less than perfect because we're doing a really country style font for this. So simple, simple, simple. The most important part when doing any kind of lettering is making sure things are straight and level. That's the only important part. Because our eyes are conditioned, we have been taught since we opened our eyeballs to read things top to bottom, left to right. So when things are not straight, vertically or horizontally, our eye can pick it up because we are conditioned to. And so, when you're doing lettering of any kind, it is important that they be straight and level, horizontally and vertically. And if they're not, it comes screaming out at you. It just looks wrong. And I'm one of those people that walks around the house straightening paintings. So there's an R here. Oh, my brush is splitting. I think this one has seen better days, this rigger. It might be time for a new one. I don't know how old this one is. You can't even read it anymore. Like all of the lettering is missing. I've had this one a while. So we've got all the verticals done. I'm going to let that dry and we're going to come down to this one. I'm going to switch to a new rigger, I think, or a newer rigger. There we go. This one is a number 2. Oof. Okay, I guess it's not a newer one. This one is split too. Oh my goodness. I'll go through my collection till I find one that works well. Here we go. So when you're doing a curved letter, tap your rigger until you get a flat chisel. Press down, let the brush open up, and then bring it back up onto the chisel.
I think our next upgrade is gonna have to be this laptop.
Yeah.
It's struggling right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So almost there.
I mean, how many years has this laptop been?
3.
That's all it does.
It's all it does. If it didn't have that kind of demand on it, it would be fine.
Yeah.
Now, I like to distress my lettering a little bit. I'm going to show you how to do that without wrecking your background. So I love these little points. There's something really special about this particular font. It's a fun one. It's quite pretty, quite elegant looking. There we go. I like it. It's a pretty font. Works very well. Now, most people look at the lettering and figure, oh, it's not fully opaque, it's not, and that's okay. And I'm going to show you why in just a sec. I don't really worry about the lettering being fully opaque, especially for something like this. So I'm going to get Renee to hand me a piece of brown craft paper off that roll there. Don't need much. This is just brown craft paper. Grace Olmsted, do I have riggers for sale on my site? I do not. However, I'm going to tell you something. Sandy McTeer is now stocking the Posca pens, the fine Posca pen that I use, the white ones. She has the white and the black. And she's also stocking my riggers. So she has both of those available on sandymcteerdesigns.com. So go and check out her site. And I believe she also has a coupon code Tracy M. So you want to distress your lettering a little bit without damaging your background. Try this. I'm going to crumple up a little piece of craft paper. I just found that it works better if it's crumpled. Now, I distressed this vertically, so I'm going to do the same thing to my lettering. You're going to just burnish the lettering gently, little pressure, with a piece of craft paper. And it just softens off any rough edges, any areas where it's imperfect. So it just distresses this lightly, very lightly, without damaging your background. So it softens your lettering a little bit. Oh, Crystal, your children are evil. Yes, and I think mine do it too. So, little distressing. No. You wouldn't do that? Sure you wouldn't. So, I'm going to use my Posca pen. I love this little one. This is the 7mm one. I love this pen. I need to shake this a little bit.
Oh yeah, she went to Mexico?
Yep. She's heading to Mexico. So, I'm going to use my white Posca pen to finish the lettering. So all of those little horizontal lines and connectors, this is a great way to do this. Now you can do this with a liner brush or with your rigger. But I really love these Posca pens, and they just make things so simple. Easy peasy. Nice and crisp. Just like that. And in case you're wondering, the white in this pen is almost a perfect match for that warm white. Oops, a daisy. Well, that was less than straight. It's going uphill. Nice part, it is acrylic. So until it's completely dry, you can erase it. Now it's straight. There we go. So any little areas that you feel need to be touched up, especially in lettering, if you want to make things a little bit brighter, you can do that with this pen. So I'm going to dry this really well, and then we're going to clean up some of those graphite lines. Sherry, I could not agree more. I've tried a variety of different brands, and these ones work the best. So, make sure this is good and dry. I'm going to grab my favorite black eraser. You can use your Tombow black gel. I love my gel erasers, my soft and squishy black erasers. I'm going to take a minute to remove any little graphite lines. I like the black one because it removes graphite without damaging your paint. It doesn't polish your background. It doesn't hurt anything. Gives you a nice clean look. Tendrils? Tendrils. I did the tendrils. So I go around, clean up all my graphite lines. You will find that once you do this, any of those little rut areas that looked a little rough get cleaned up very quickly.
Where do you get your frames and mats for your frames?
Every once in a while, Michaels puts on their buy one, get one deal for simple black frames. And I usually buy 11 by 14 frames. I wait until they have their buy one, get one, and I buy 5 or 6 at a time. The frames are easy. It's a plain white mat. They're very inexpensive, and they finish things really, really nicely. They just give everything a nice finished look. So I've got all my graphite off. I'm liking it. I am going to grab my favorite fugly brush. And I'm going to use a little bit of thinned warm white because I like my spatter. A little bit here and there of a little bit thinned warm white around my piece. I do the same thing with a little bit of thinned asphaltum. I don't often use lamp black for this, but you could if you wanted to. But a little bit of thinned asphaltum.
You're asking if you keep the glass in the frame?
I do, yes. You don't have to, but I do. I like them behind glass. Makes them easier to keep clean.
I like paintings behind glass.
Oh, Claudette. She's in Douglas Harbor, the Grand Lake area. They must be getting some wind and some weather down there. So, for the bottom of the lettering, we're going to use a little bit of thinned asphaltum and a little bit of thinned Bahama blue. I like Bahama blue on my lettering. So I'm going to use thinned Bahama blue, just a little bit at the bottom of each letter. That little bit of blue just helps make the lettering pop. I thinned it a bit too much. There we go. That's better. So, little float right at the bottom. I like that little bit of blue. Just gives the lettering a little bit of age without overdoing it. Makes it stand out nicely too. A little bit of blue down there. And under the country kitchen, I like a little float of asphaltum. Whoops, too much liquid. There we go. Little float of asphaltum at the bottom of each letter. And you can make that as dark as you like. I don't like it too dark. I don't want it to disappear into the background. But I like that little shading at the base of the letter. It just gives the letter a little more height. Don't be afraid to shade a little bit underneath it to lift it off of that little white flower there. So, nice little float right at the base. And there we go. The only thing I have left to do, put my little scribblature in the bottom corner, and that is our farmhouse country kitchen. This is such a fun piece to paint. Great little decor piece. Easy peasy. Now, Mr. Renee, he liked the containers I paint. I like, I'm a firm believer, you're going to paint flowers, you got to put it in something. So everything ends up in either a coffee mug or a coffee cup, teacup, old mixing bowls, pitchers, jars, cans. I love that sort of rustic and kind of country look. It really appeals to me. So anything vintage, I really like sticking flowers and things. So am I keeping this one? Actually, one of these, I think the original will end up as part of our 12 Days of Christmas fundraiser. So if you'd really like to win this one, make sure that you make a donation on the day. So make a donation to our Feed the Puppers Fund on December 7th. We are doing a bit of a fundraiser on that day. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. So that is our piece. I love this. I just think that this is such a pretty piece when it's all framed. They look really nice hanging in the kitchen. I already have a couple up there. I think I have milk and eggs hanging in the kitchen.
I think so.
I think it's milk and eggs. I love those. I'm a big fan of this country look. And it works in my kitchen. Hope Renee is feeling better soon.
I don't have a choice. I have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, he's got to feel better soon. He did okay for most of the week. He struggled through, but this house was starting to sound like we had a family of seals in it there for a bit.
Oh, I don't have anything going on up here.
No?
It's just from the neck down.
From the neck down. Oh, poor baby. So we have 3 giveaways for today, courtesy of Tombow and also of Dynasty Brush. And plus Renee and I always put a few goodies in there as well. So we do have a nice giveaway for today. It is a Tombow drawing kit. They're a very nice prize. Beautiful Tombow pencils and knock erasers. It's a really nice giveaway. I'm a big fan of their pencils. I use them all the time. So Renee's got the wheel all loaded up. So he's going to hit the spin. And the first one is going to go to... oh my goodness. Lisa Ashby. So Lisa Ashby, make sure that you hop over to the website at tracymoreau.net and click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. And the next one goes to Judy Hansen. Again, Judy, make sure you go over to the website at tracymoreau.net. Click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you. And we've got one more, and this one is going to Still a lot of names on that wheel today.
Mm-hmm. That looks like Sue Braun.
It does look like Sue Braun.
We have her shipping information.
We do have Sue's shipping information. Congratulations to all of you.
Judy Hanson, Lisa Ashby, and Sue Braun.
So next Saturday, we are painting the companion piece for this one. It is Country Kitchen in red. And so this one will have a red background. It features a cute little black and white teacup. I haven't done a teacup in a long time. So I thought it would be fun to throw one of those in and then fill it up with these fun little country flowers. So join us next Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And join us to paint Country Kitchen in red. And then I have the following Saturday, I have a really cute little Christmas project for you. Actually, no, the following Saturday is 12 Days of Christmas. Holy smoke.
Came quick.
The month has flown by. November has flown by. So I wanted to say a couple of thank yous. I have a really great team of people that are part of my membership group. And they do so much. It's not funny. So I wanted to take a minute to say thank you to them, to Linda Safranco and Jessica Killeran and Lucy, my dear Lucy, helps out a great deal. And to Linnell. Linnell is one of the organizers for our ornament exchange this year. She did a tremendous amount of work. So I wanted to say thank you to her personally. Linnell, you are much appreciated. You do so much for me and for the group. And thank you very, very much. And as well, thank you to all of you for joining us every Saturday as you do. We love having you and we love seeing your name, especially in the chat. It's so nice to see you to engage with all of the other people that join us here every Saturday. It's always such a pleasure. So I will see you next Saturday right here. I don't know where he's going. He moves around too much. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Candy cane piece?
Oh, I don't know why. It's not even finished, you goof.
It's not finished?
No.
That's not finished?
It's not finished. It's still... No, it is not finished. But yes,
finished, apparently.
it isn't finished, but it will be. And then we will have the pattern available for you. When will I do the candy cane piece? I don't know when I'm doing that one. Right now I'm working on another piece. I've got
Gingerbread?
pieces I'm trying to catch up on. So I don't know. So to all my friends in the United States, please have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. To all my Canadian friends, if you are out west, please try to stay warm, stay safe, and stay off the roads with that horrendous snow. If you're any of us east of Manitoba, we're getting nothing but miserable rain and cloud. Try to stay warm, stay safe. Everybody have a great weekend. Mwah. We love you.
Pet your dog.
Thank you. Everybody take care.